Suzume. Suzume.
Suzume.
Suzume.
Suzume.
Suzume. All right. Kick us off, Dan.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi. Hi, Tavi.
Hi, Dan. We're again at the 3ZZZ studios. So every
Thank
time
you,
we're
3ZZZ.
Yeah, there's always something special. We're here joined by two very lovely guests. The first Japanese guests, real Japanese people to be on our show to maybe put us in our place.
As opposed to the fake Japanese people that we have had on the show previously.
Me and you are fake Japanese, but no.
Yeah, that's true, actually. You're right.
But no, we want to welcome Yuka and Yuta, who should be on screen now.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So,
nice to meet you.
I know Yuta and Yuka from 3ZZZ, so just a little background on that. I guess it's kind of like a ethnic community radio station, and we did class together, and yeah, they're cool. So it'd be good to hear their insights on Suzume.
They have their own shows, right, Tavi? Do you want to plug the show?
Do you guys have your own show that you'll be doing for another month before you go back to Japan?
So I'm doing interview shows, which features foreign students who are learning Japanese in Melbourne.
And Yuka, I remember you told me you talk about like music on your show.
Yeah. I sometimes broadcast about music with another Japanese girl, and we feature like sometimes Japanese music and sometimes actually English music as well.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So we want to talk a little bit about you guys first. You've been living here for nearly a year now. What's your experience in Australia been like? Like, good?
Yeah, good.
Bad?
You can tell us if it's bad.
Yeah.
Be honest, guys.
I really think it's good. Yeah, it's a good place to live.
Yeah,
it's a good place to study as well, because like Melbourne Uni is, we have a good environment for studying. So at least I am so glad to be here.
Yeah, same here.
You guys been to Australia before, or was it your first time coming here?
My first time.
Oh, okay. Was there anything that surprised you about Australia?
Maybe like it's about Melbourne, but I was surprised about the buildings, like designs of buildings, because it's kind of mixture of like old-fashioned, like Victorian styles of buildings, and like at the same time, the modern design, like colorful buildings. So they coexist in one city, and which looks so nice.
Yeah, I thought the same way. But I thought Melbourne was like more bigger, but it's actually such a compact city. Yeah, but it's very walkable and I like it.
That's true. It is a walkable city.
Yeah.
Dan hates
pretty easy to
Melbourne,
get.
though. That's why you're.
It's all right.
That's why.
No. I think it's. I think they're pretty similar. If I'm going to be honest, Sydney and Melbourne. I don't know what the rivalry is all about, but I think you're right. It's a nice city. It's a really good looking city.
Yeah.
And it's very atmospheric.
So
about Australian people, did we fit your image of what you imagined Australians would be like?
Let me see. Because like actually we don't see lots of Australian people, because there are lots of like foreign students, international students in universities. So like after 1 year of staying, I'm still not sure what is like Australian.
Well, Tavi's pretty Australian.
you think so?
Yeah, kind of sometimes.
Yeah, I find people here is very friendly. Yeah, it was same as my expectation before coming to Melbourne, and I really like people's personality. So yeah, I think it's very
open
different
and
from
friendly.
Japan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if you go to a McDonald's after 1 a.m., you might get a different opinion.
Okay.
What do you mean?
You see some colorful characters at that time. You might even see a boxing match for free.
It's definitely a different image of McDonald's than is portrayed in Makoto Shinkai's
yes.
works.
That's true. Yeah, Makoto Shinkai makes. I sent you guys an outline, and I wrote McDonald's because in Weathering with You and in Suzume, they both feature like McDonald's
Yeah.
in a very like
Looks beautiful.
it looks beautiful. So,
I've never seen like a Big Mac romanticized so well.
every time I watch Suzume, I eat a Big Mac after because I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I want to. Except they didn't use the ad that Makoto Shinkai made where Suzume's mother is in it.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. I was like, I wanted to see like more beautiful Big Mac drawings, but unfortunately, we didn't get that. So, but anyway, that's Big Macs and Makoto Shinkai. Maybe Makoto Shinkai wrote Suzume and Weathering with You at a McDonald's, and he was just like chilling out.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to fund it somehow as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. And hey, I mean, it works. What was the budget for this movie? Do you know?
$20 to $30 million approximately.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I think that's usually like how it costs when they make a like blockbuster animation movie in Japan.
That's actually. I mean, if you're going to compare it to an American film, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, like you'll probably spend 30 billion just to make the Hulk green or something. I mean, that's how much you pay like Robert Downey Jr. to star in a role. So, yeah,
It's true. It's true. And definitely compared to its box office, $321 million box office.
yeah.
Seems like it's made its money back and then some.
Yeah, actually, before we get into the crux of the episode, I want to hear from Yuta and Yuka. Like, what's your kind of opinion or like view on like Japanese movies and media? Like, what are your thoughts about them?
Thoughts like.
Like, do you watch a lot of Japanese media? Or do you enjoy it?
I'm kind of otaku person, so like watch lots of Japanese movies, animes, and TV series.
What kind of TV shows or movies did you guys kind of grow up watching?
Maybe Ghibli.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because like they broadcast Ghibli on TV every year, so we Japanese people like always watch them.
And you too as well, Yuka?
I'm not really into Japanese anime, but I often watch Japanese TV dramas. So yeah, I think
okay.
I often watch Japanese content.
I've never watched a Japanese TV drama before. I've seen it like on TVs when I'm sitting at like Caesarea or something, or a restaurant with a TV in it. But I've never actually sat down and watched one. Like, are they usually like romantic or is it comedic or?
I think most of them are romantic and sometimes comedy. Yeah.
Okay. I see a lot of variety shows on Japanese television. Do you guys watch those?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I remember watching a bit of a Japanese drama. It was a few years ago now. It had Satomi Ishihara in it. It was called like Dear Sister.
Dear Sister, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish it because I didn't like it very much. I watched maybe like 2 episodes, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna I think I'm not gonna watch this one. So I decided not to finish it. I do like romantic stuff, but I guess when it gets to like romantic drama comedy, it's a bit. Yeah, I get a bit bored. But yeah, so Makoto Shinkai, what do you think about his works in general? Like, do you like a lot of his stuff? Like, do you have a favorite movie from him?
So to be honest, I was not a big fan of Makoto Shinkai, especially about like his, especially about like Your Name and Weathering with You. I didn't like it so much.
Oh, okay. I can hear people clicking the dislike button already.
But I really liked Suzume this time, and also like it was like good timing for me. After like watching Suzume, I could like review and reevaluate his previous films as well. So now like I'm getting more fan of him, I think.
Okay. How about you, Yuka?
I'm not a big fan of him either. I've only watched Weathering with You and Suzume, and yeah, but I like Suzume better than the Weathering with You. But I'm thinking of watching Your Name as well, maybe in near future.
Okay, no, that's pretty interesting. I only really liked Makoto Shinkai after watching Your Name. And it's funny because when I first watched Your Name, I wasn't sure if I liked it that much. It was until I watched it again, where I'm like, okay, no, this is actually a really good movie. The things I especially love about Makoto Shinkai movies, when it comes to like Your Name and Weathering with You, is the music. I like Red Wimps.
Yeah,
I think they're cool.
Okay.
So I really like the soundtrack. I think they married quite well together. So I thought, it's really cool. The animation is obviously really good. The McDonald's is also really good as well. But it's interesting that you guys said that you weren't not huge Makoto Shinkai fans. I think I've seen some of his other movies before Your Name. And I'm not sure if I like them that much. I watched the English title is the Place Promised in Our Early Days, his first movie. And I watched this movie when I was really tired. So I like have no memory of what happened in it. But it's interesting to see his themes, I think. Like you can see a lot of his there's parallel worlds. There's always a young romance involved. There was no McDonald's in the first one, but I guess
No Red Wimps either.
No Red Wimps. So yeah,
Two crucial components of a Makoto Shinkai film. It's interesting as well because you guys said that you enjoy Studio Ghibli films, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that Makoto Shinkai is like the new Miyazaki, which I probably disagree with, but like I can kind of see it from a in terms of like reinvigorating maybe the anime movie feature-length film format, but in terms of like style and content, probably not. But do you think like your love of Ghibli movies affected how you responded to Makoto Shinkai's works initially anyway?
I'm not sure, but I just know like Makoto Shinkai himself has been like struggling to like distinguish himself from Ghibli films and Miyazaki, the image of Miyazaki films. So maybe I agree with you. Basically, maybe his films are like quite different from Miyazaki films. And I'm not sure if if it affected my like opinion on Shinkai. It's a difficult question.
Yeah, because they are quite different, right? Like, I think Makoto Shinkai definitely has his own style, and whether or not that resonates with people, like, I guess it's a matter of taste, really. Because I think Makoto Shinkai is better at kind of like these more grounded romance films as opposed to like the fantastical elements. And although like they are in Suzume, I don't know like whether they're as strong as the fantasy elements in like a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah, but actually in Suzume there are lots of like Ghibli homages.
Oh, okay.
Have you noticed? No?
The chair, maybe.
No. Yeah, actually like there are so many of them. I mean, references towards Ghibli.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, there's some music in there as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
That is the one.
the music, yeah. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about the music, because actually one of my criticisms of Suzume is it's not really the story thing, but like it's more like a personal aesthetic choice. It's like in Your Name and Weathering with You, there's lots of like Radwimps music.
songs?
Yeah, in this one there wasn't as many. And when I actually first watched Suzume as well, I wasn't sure if I liked Suzume either. I watched it for the first time. I watched it with Risky, our audio guy, and I was also really tired that day as well. I was tired and hungry. So when I was watching it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I like this movie that much. I was wondering, is there not enough Radwimps music? But I've actually seen this movie like 4 times now. So I went to the cinema. I usually go on the day where it's cheap, and then I can get a good screening. But what was, what was your guys' first experience, or if you've only seen it once, and what was your thoughts immediately after the movie?
Honestly, I couldn't get the whole meaning or whole theme of the movie after I watched it just once. Maybe his movie is provides the room for your personal thinking. So yeah, that's good. But personally, I like the movie that is very understandable or easy to watch. So yeah, that was my first impression.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the film, isn't there?
Yeah.
How about you, Yuta?
So I have something to say about the music, and what is interesting is I had completely different opinion from Toby,
There we
because
go.
because one of the reasons I didn't like his previous 2 films is the music direction.
Okay, that's very
And,
interesting. Yeah.
So I didn't like how they repeatedly 6 or 7 Radwimps songs playing in one.
They did spam it a bit.
Which made the film just a gorgeous versions of music video. And I really like the music direction of Suzume in comparison. So it's not that I don't like Radwimps music themselves, just to clarify, but I didn't like how they repeatedly use them in his previous films.
I think for me, the use of music kind of gives the film more of that youthful energy. So it kind of, for me, it kind of makes it feel more energetic, because a lot of the times there are young characters in his films. Well, Kimi no Nawa and Weathering with You. So I think for me, it's kind of I like that, because I'm a big fan of music where there's an emotional scene and there's vocals as well. I think there's it adds kind of an element. And I actually, with some of my short films, I use these soundtracks often as a reference to whatever I try to make. So I think with Suzume, I like the music and I like the title song, but I found that I think I was expecting more. Yeah, I just was expecting Radwimps. So it didn't feel as to me. It didn't feel as alive in that sense. Yeah, and actually, I was telling you guys before. The title song, it's just called Suzume. How it goes, it's funny because every time I hear that song, the beginning part, it's almost a cappella. There's not much instruments, so it kind of sounds like someone who is daydreaming and not paying attention to anything. So it's kind of like if I'm talking to Dan sometimes, like I'll just be like, yeah, but in my mind it's just like
Yeah, it's like when you've stopped listening to someone and you're just hearing in your mind. Yeah.
So I kind of I found the song a little bit funny in that sense. Yeah.
I can see where Yuta's coming from though, because like, yeah, like the Radwimps music is good, but I feel like a lot of the time it's used to kind of evoke the same kind of atmosphere and the same kind of emotion. Whereas in Suzume, because it is used a bit more sparingly and like the movie goes through these kind of phases where it's like they'll have like a big epic action scene with giant worms coming out of the ground and stuff, and then like it'll be like a kind of this intense score, which is not really what Radwimps does, right? And then they'll be like driving through the countryside, and it'll be like that nostalgic like song from Kiki's Delivery Service. So it kind of like they use the music more to evoke different kinds of sentiments rather than just spamming like Radwimps. So I don't know. It's hard because Radwimps music are like all of the songs are pretty much bangers, right? But like I guess if overused in a movie, it can kind of give off that feeling of just you're watching several Radwimps MVs back to back.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just like them. That's all. I just think it's cool.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, they are bangers.
Actually, you were talking about the worms, Dan. There's obviously probably a lot of Japanese folklore in this movie that probably Dan and I don't realize. Like, do you think you can maybe explain the worms or even the cats?
What's up with the worms?
I watched this movie 4 times and I still have no idea about the cats in this movie.
Cats.
Well, I'm not sure about cats. Are like, so in Japan, like there are many gods that are like in the shape of cats. So they're the cats. Yeah.
Because my thing about this movie is I don't know what the motivation of the cats of Daijin
That's the point. I was not sure about.
It's like, so I was thinking like, is Daijin based on any particular like myth at all? If you're aware.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Even though like we're not aware of, but like I hear that like Makoto Shinkai has been like doing lots of researches about Japanese folklore or mythologies. So I think like there is something in his mind.
There's a scene I want to talk about a little bit later in the spoiler section that involves the cats. But also, I got this more on the second viewing. There's a lot of very like striking imagery in the afterlife world, and when they're driving through the countryside, it's a lot of like abandoned places and effects from like tsunamis and like earthquakes, that kind of thing. So when you guys are watching these scenes, like how does that make you feel?
The scenery reminded me the earthquake that happened in 2011. So that was when I was in elementary school, I guess. Yeah, and that was very shocking. So that reminded me like the bad feeling, or like I was kind of shocked. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was not directly hit by disaster in 2011. So, so like that might have like caused some traumatic like memories for people who were hit directly by the Great Tohoku earthquake. But so like what I thought was like it was such a like, so I was surprised by like Shinkai doing this kind of thing in the blockbuster movie, because like it's something lots of people watch. So
okay, well, actually, on that note, is this something that generally affects Japanese people? Like because this was like more than a decade ago, but the memory is still quite recent. So, do you think you can share some insight on, like, is this event still quite maybe like traumatic to some people, or do people talk about it often?
Yeah, sure. Sure, but like not really for the younger generations, which is why Shinkai tried to make this film.
Okay. Yeah.
This is something like he said in his interviews. So he has a daughter of like 11 or 12 years old, and she doesn't have any memory of the Tohoku earthquake. So like he wanted to like tell something towards the younger generations.
Because you can see that kind of stuff in like Weathering with You as well, right?
Yeah.
And like especially the end is kind of like almost apocalyptic in nature, with Tokyo being submerged in water and stuff. And
in Your Name
like
as well.
I feel like maybe some people criticized it at the time. Oh, sorry, Yuta? Yeah.
No. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I think like from what I heard, that was like some people criticized the film for that because it maybe it was a little bit too real or a little bit too close to home, right? But at the same time, I guess he is trying to kind of pass on this message to younger people that may not have that kind of first-hand experience necessarily.
Yeah.
And actually, like he did that in Your Name as well, because it's also about a disaster, like a comet falling onto the town and destroy it, like, and lots of people die. So, so like this is also something Shinkai has been like saying in lots of interviews. He was so shocked and inspired by when the Tohoku earthquake occurred, and after that like thing happened. He tried to like make movies about disasters, which are his like recent 3 movies, Suzume, Weathering with You, and Your Name. But like in his previous 2 films, he made it into kind of a metaphor, not direct, rather than like not directly depicting the Great Tohoku earthquake. He used metaphors of like the comet or, the city of Tokyo like sunk under the water. But like in this film, Suzume, he like depicted the disaster directly, mentioned it directly. So that was quite like surprising.
Yeah, there is a difference. That's true. I think it's of course also because of the nature of Makoto Shinkai's animation style. Is like he takes that hyper realism route when it comes to the locations, so that it like evokes the maximum like level of emotion when you see like something so so true to life. Like the detail that he kind of depicts his locations in, it feels like a real place. And like the fact that like disaster has kind of struck this place that it's almost like, have you guys watched Alice in Borderlands?
No.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, they've got that kind of like realistic Shibuya crossing situation going on. And because it's so like accurately depicted, it feels like really real, like the violence that occurs there. So it's kind of like compared to like a Miyazaki film where it's like a fantasy world and like bad things are happening within this fantasy world, there's kind of a disconnect between the audience and this world. Whereas like in Makoto Shinkai film, because it is like so accurately depicted as Japan, like when bad things are happening, it feels like the stakes are quite high, right? So you really don't want like the worms to crash into into Tokyo, whatever's happening in this film.
The thing I really like about Makoto Shinkai movies, as you're saying, the images and the animation, it's very vivid. Like, it looks real, and it's almost like it's very romanticized, but it feels quite real, especially like Weathering with You, because it really reminded me of my time living in Japan. I saw a lot.
He's so good at depicting Tokyo.
It's
like
really
all the
good.
little intricacies.
It's very like, it feels very like, natsukashi. It's really like, that's why I actually think Suzume is a better movie, but I like Weathering with You more. just I think just the aesthetic choices and like but my favorite is Kimi no Nawa because that's really like I really like the twist in that movie. I thought it was it's I've seen that movie a lot, maybe too many times.
Yeah, I think his strength is to bring out this kind of inherent charm of like real life Japanese locations, like especially Tokyo. But that's why, like in Suzume, like I really liked the road trip aspect of the movie, like them kind of bouncing between different locations, first like in Kyushu and then Ehime, and then Kobe, and eventually Tokyo. It's like every place they go to has its own kind of personality, and like even like the little dialect changes as well, and the personalities of the characters that they meet in each location. It kind of like really brings out that charm and like in all the social interactions and builds out those kind of character relationships. But yeah, at the same time, I wasn't that into the fantasy elements because they were kind of like set in like almost this separate world that was like a bit less relatable, I guess.
Yeah, I think the road trip moment was my favorite as well. But before I ask you that question, in the movie, Suzume gets a lot of help from random people. Do you think that would happen in like? I think it's so easy to be like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, you just come in. Like, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I feel like that's probably a good recipe.
How likely is it for someone to pick up a hitchhiker in Japan?
Yeah, so like
I don't think so.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so because in Japan, like strangers don't speak to each other normally, just normally, but. Like it could happen in the countryside. People in countryside more like kind and friendly compared to the cities. People in cities, so yeah. But I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah. I don't think that's realistic either. And like my opinion on Shinkai Makoto's films is that like his movies realistic in terms of like depiction of the sceneries, but not necessarily in terms of the story.
Can you elaborate on that?
Because so just as what we have talked right now, and another like thing that come up with like how can they like fall in love like that in just maybe after meeting. Maybe it's story of just like 4 or 5 days, right?
But he's a beautiful anime boy.
Yeah.
Did you see his hair? It's amazing.
I actually do think the romance aspect didn't really need to be there. I agree with you on that. It's a bit forced because I think that might be like a studio thing where it's like people like they probably talked to Makoto. They're like, can you put romance in there because people like that? So he's probably like, all right, make sure McDonald's.
But so much of Suzume's actions are driven by like her romantic interest in Sota.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it pretty much kicks off the whole movie. She falls in love with him instantly and then chases him to the.
Boy. If the guy was me, she'd be like, nah, fuck that.
No.
The world would have ended, Tommy.
The earthquake would have happened, and then
But like I know something interesting about this. So I hear that like Shinkai was in the first place trying to make this movie something like a buddy movie between 2 girls. But like producers said no and make one of them the boy.
Yeah.
So maybe
Beautiful boy.
maybe Toby's right in that term.
Yeah, I think
That's interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Would it have worked as a buddy movie? I guess it would have.
People have said like, it's more ready to accept the romance between a chair than another girl.
I really enjoyed the chair thing though. Like
the chair
the
was
fact
cool.
that they took this quintessentially handsome man and like they build him up like from the get-go as like this really handsome dude and then he's just a chair for the rest of the movie is so funny to me.
I also think from a merchandise aspect, it'll be really easy to make, to mass produce, so people can buy it. And it's like, oh, cool, it's a chair. And it's missing one leg, so it's even like,
It's even less useful than a regular chair.
not very useful. What were some of your favorite like moments in the movie. So Dan and I like the road trip section. I thought that was my favorite moment. But what about you?
So, one of the reasons I like this movie is the sense of humor was very good. So, like for example, like where like Suzume have to like look after two children, and they treat Sota as like AI and like say something like hey Sota, play music or something like that. That's not so
was really
funny,
funny.
right?
Yeah.
Actually, on that scene really, I really relate to that scene because we told you me and Dan used to be teachers, so I've taught out of control Japanese children crawling all over
Tavi
me.
has been in Sota's position, just being ridden by children.
I worked in the one of the Kamiari area, and it was like a specific kids school, and it's tough. That scene is pretty realistic. Like I lost control, and then so I was like, oh yeah, this is real life. It's a documentary almost. Like I thought that was quite funny too.
There are many scenes I like, but I like especially the scene like Suzume, the main character, and her aunt are like riding a bicycle, the same bicycle, and talking about out their like honest feelings to each other. That was like very heartwarming, and so they had a family problem, and they were solving that problem in that scene. So that was very good, I think.
I like a line from that scene where like Tamaki says to Suzume like that's not everything, something like that, about like what she said to Suzume previously. Like they have some words on each other, right? And Tamaki like said like because of you I was like I couldn't get married, or I couldn't invite people, and that was so stressful, something like that. And when they like are together on the bicycle, Tamaki says that was not everything, so she didn't deny it. That was not true.
Yeah, I actually wanted
she didn't say so.
I wanted to talk about that moment because it's pretty intense, because like much of the film, it's still like there's a lot at stake, but it's not really like super emotionally resonant in that sense, where it's really about like you hear these confessions from the auntie Tamaki to Suzume, like this really honest feeling about like she says, like because of you, like I couldn't get married, I couldn't have kids, and it's like a really powerful moment in the film. And I was quite like shocked by it, because like I think it's an honest feeling that a lot of people would have, even like parents to their children, like there's probably a little bit of like ultimately there is like love in the family, but there's definitely like thoughts that they have like I could follow this and that. So I thought that was a strong moment, but and this is where I wanted to talk about the cats, because that's when Sadaijin comes in, and then it's like Makoto Shinkai, he makes it seem like she was possessed by the cat, but then it's like she's not. So it kind of ruined the moment a little bit, because like I thought, like I don't know if the cat just made her say that, or if that was coming from her like emotion.
I think that comes back to what Yuta was talking about though. Like, initially you might think that she was possessed, but then later when they're on the bicycle, she doesn't deny that those feelings were true, but she expands on it and explains like that's not everything, right? So I agree with you, Tavi. Like I feel like that scene was quite impactful until the reveal that it was a big black cat behind everything. And like I think it's interesting that all of our favorite moments didn't have anything to do with the fantastical elements of the story, but rather the like the smaller scale like character interactions. And I think that's probably my main criticism of this film, is it feels like two separate movies at times. And I'm not sure like how well the the fantasy aspects of this film hold up.
There's a bit of pacing issues. It's really fast, and then it slows down. I like slow movies, so that's why I like the road trip section. But what do you think? Like, taking back to the argument, like, what do you think about that scene? Like, was it?
Well,
go ahead.
well, so I think that like Sadaijin has a power to make a person to express their like true feelings.
Okay,
So
yeah.
there is no like, it's okay to like to say that kind of thing, and after that like say that was not. So I can say like there is no conflict about that maybe, because like because it's true that she was obsessed. Like so. She was affected by Sadaijin, but it's also true that it was her honest feeling towards
okay,
Suzume.
I see. Yeah,
Both are the truth.
yeah. But it's like it's brushed off pretty easily because she's just riding the bike. And she's just like, yeah, I said those things, but don't worry about it, basically. It's like, oh, yeah, I hate you too sometimes. And they just like, yeah, that's fine. So I thought it was like a powerful moment, but also like, yeah, just a little bit, it wasn't that fleshed out, I would say. But not really a big thing. I want to talk about like the music that they listen to in the car. Like, do you guys know these songs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they very popular?
Yeah, they're
popular,
pretty popular.
pretty popular, like nostalgic.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking, like, there was one point where I was thinking, should I watch the English dub version of the movie just to see what they do with that scene? But I'm like, nah. I didn't want to waste my money. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just, yeah. So I was curious because I wonder how they would translate that scene into English because you just wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, maybe that scene is more for like the Japanophiles watching this kind of film, maybe, rather than like a mainstream audience, because it would be hard to translate. And like, I mean, it's music. You kind of get the feeling from the music that they use anyway, like what the mood is supposed to be like. So I don't think they would necessarily have to change the tracks for the English dub. Like start driving and it's just the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Suzume is the fourth highest grossing Japanese film of all time, and above is Your Name, the highest is Demon Slayer. But why are Makoto Shinkai movies so popular? Like why do you think they're so internationally renowned? Because these stories they're very Japanese, I think. So like I wonder why there's like a big connection. Like why do you think his movies are so popular?
You mean abroad or around the
abroad,
world? Yeah, that was something I was like wondering as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I think that like this is very Japanese movie, right? Because like thinking of the those like Japanese nostalgic songs, motifs of like the mythology things or folklore things, and the earthquake as well. This is so Japanese. So I've got no idea why it's like so. It's becoming a big hit around the world.
Do you have any idea, Yuka, why?
Honestly, yeah, I have the same feeling and thought as Yuta. But I guess he's famous because his drawing is good, just good. And the quality of like music, the pictures, and that stuff is so good. So it's Japanese movie. It's so Japanese, but people around the world can watch the movie and learn Japanese things. So maybe people are interested in Japanese things, I guess.
Yeah. So do you think like to be like globally successful, one should be more like domestic and like national?
I actually think so. I think just listening to your guys' answers is pretty much the reason why I think these films are so popular. I think it's because people want to watch something different. They want to see like a Japanese story. They want to see a folklore. And that's why everyone hates remakes, because it's just kind of dumbing down the quality of what makes Makoto Shinkai or anime films in general good. It's because they're Japanese. Like, I'm watching a Makoto Shinkai film because I wanted to see like Japanese culture. And I also think like structurally it's quite Western as well. I think it's got the 3 acts structure, and so it's like quite easy to follow. Because I know a lot of regular Japanese films. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there's usually like the start of the movie is usually getting to know the characters, like the first 2 acts before there's really any main conflict. So that's why there's a lot of films like Hirokazu or who's that really? Or like Ozu, the old director. So there's a lot. Yasujiro Ozu. Yeah, there's a lot of like human stories that are quite that are kind of hard for like Western audiences to get into, especially with the TikTok generation these days. Yeah. I should check. Are you still there, Dan? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You're still listening. Yeah. You just Suzume. Yeah, that's fair. So I think that's why that they're popular. It's because they're good, and I think that's the same with Parasite as well. Because as you said, Suzume is very Japanese, where Parasite is very Korean. So it's not trying to pander to any audience. So I think like the key to the success is like just be honest. Make an honest movie. Yeah.
I think that the Japanese identity of these films definitely helps sell it even abroad. Because like you said, you're watching an anime film, right? So like you already have this mindset of you're going to be watching something Japanese. And to bring it to the forefront the way that Makoto Shinkai does with his like photorealistic like depictions of certain locations. Like Kimi no Nawa was so popular because of the locations like going viral basically. And it sent a lot of people going from abroad to Japan to try to scout these locations. And that's why like you go to that staircase, right? And there's like a map of all the other locations. Like you've been to that staircase, right, Tavi?
Yeah. I took a photo there with a friend.
Yeah. And like I think that's what people abroad find appealing about this film is that it shows you Japan in such a personal way, I think. And it makes you kind of want to actively go out and look for these locations and try to capture the same feeling that you get from the movie.
Actually, I wanted to ask Yuta and Yuka this. Just a general question about like animation in because anime is it's quite like adult at times. Like when you watch like a Ghibli film or Makoto Shinkai film, you wouldn't necessarily say they are children's films. They're kind of made like for everyone. Whereas like if you think about Western animation, like Disney, it's kind of like this is a kid's film. So in the West, we have this perception that animation is for children. But what is the thought generally from Japanese people? Like, do people think anime is for kids, or is this is for adults? Like, what do you think?
I mean, in comparison to the Western society, in Japan, like historically, anime has been for not only for children but also for the adult people, and so like I learned that like this is partially why like in the past Japanese anime like struggle to be successful in other countries, especially Western countries. So like when Princess Mononoke, for example, came out, like it includes lots of like violent scenes of like fighting, and like so it wasn't so largely accepted, or like was accepted, but like still like some people were kind of critical about this movie when it first came out in the US. So so I think like as you said, there is certainly a gap about like whether the animation is for kids or not. There is certainly a gap between Japan and Western society, which is like closing now. Maybe the gap is becoming smaller today.
Any thoughts on this? Yuka,
I've never thought about that before, but yeah, I think Japanese anime can be enjoyed by all the generation. Yeah, not just by children, but also by adults as well. Yeah, and I didn't know that it was like kind of strategic until I heard of Yuta's Yuta's story about Mononoke Princess. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's an interesting point to mention, I guess.
Because I know that there are people who'll be like, from the Western side who say, I don't want to watch anime, it's weird. But then it's like, oh yeah, I can just watch like a movie about a mermaid. That's normal, or something like that. So it's like there's a weird stigma or weird thoughts that it's definitely like these days it's much more accepted to watch anime, but there's still like this mindset of a lot of people who will watch like any cartoon and just think it's inherently childish, and then if they watch something like Akira, they're going to be quite shocked to see how violent it is, and you know, people end up like complaining. I think there was I forgot his name, but there was some Australian government official who is he's trying to ban like manga and anime because he thinks it's like pornographic, like very like because like it's a mindset like like cartoons should be for kids, right? So why like this shouldn't be allowed because like you're corrupting kids, but a lot of adults really enjoy this medium. And
when is that?
I've read this article, I think it was a few years ago now. I don't think it was successful, but because it's art is hard, but like, I mean, have you been to Akihabara before? There's some
just once.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like, it's. I'm just like, like I can sometimes see the point, but it's also like, you shouldn't just ban or censor everything.
I mean, there's weird stuff even in non-animated formats, right? So it's like, it's not exclusive to animation. I think it is just a perception of the West that animation is for kids that kind of creates this red flag situation where anything risque in animated form is no good because like kids' eyes are more on cartoons, I guess. But I don't know. It's fine.
I just know some people who just like, I'll put on a movie, and these are friends that like have watched animated movies regularly, and I think I put on like Your Name, and they're just like, I don't like Japanese animation. I'm like, why? Like, what's the difference? Like, they're both like drawings, and they're just like, I don't like it. Like, they didn't give me a reason. I'm like, all right. So sometimes you can't change that perception, but it's just like. I find it like almost double standards to like, I like this, but like, for some reason when it's Japanese, like, it's weird, but that's just my take on that.
But getting back to Suzume, like Yuta, you mentioned that you enjoyed the music, but you also said that you had some criticisms of the film in general.
So like one of the point is the English title,
you said this before,
which is Suzume, because the original Japanese title is Suzume no Tojimari, which means in Japanese like Suzume's maybe looking up or locking the doors. And so I've got no idea why they eliminated the locking door part from the English title, because it's actually an important part, because this is a story of Suzume, like looking up the doors of her past, her memories, or her emotions, right? So like looking up has a symbolic important meaning. So if the English title like was Suzume's Looking Up or something like that, maybe the audience can more be like guided on how to read the text and think while watching it. Think like what does this looking up symbolize? What does it mean? And get more of messages from the movie. So yeah, so what I want to say is the title is important.
I think the reason they've done this is purely marketing purposes. Like, Western titles tend to be quite short. Like, it's just Suzume. Like, it just sounds like, it does lose the meaning, but it just kind of like sounds bigger, but by using less words. It's like, it's just Suzume. Like, who is Suzume? That kind of thing. So it probably does lose that kind of, I guess, the literal meaning of it. But I think it's just easier to market.
It's just for branding, I think. Like Spirited Away as well. It's like what's the Japanese title? Sento Chihiro
Kamikaze.
Yeah. So it's much longer than like something succinct like Spirited Away. I think it is literally just for branding's sake.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like Suzume, it just sounds like a generic raw romantic film, I guess.
And Suzume is like not only just one word, but it's a Japanese word. So I'm not sure like if like many of the Western or like abroad foreign like audiences could get the meaning, because they can't even know if it's a name or not, right? Because
okay.
For those
it could be like a town's name. It could be
it
could be anything.
That's true. I knew it was just the main character, but like, I mean, Dan and I have some knowledge on Japanese things, so we probably know. But yeah, that's a good point actually. Like, is Suzume the town? Or you're right about that.
Yeah, well, could be some general like noun.
Actually, as maybe to finish off this recording, this episode, are you looking forward to the eventual American remake of Suzume or Your Name?
Well, not really. But if it's released, I'm gonna watch it.
You're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on remakes? Like, what do you think about people remaking beloved Japanese products and then making them very American?
Remaking is good. That means like they're very interested in Japanese movies or Japanese content. So I'm glad with that point, but maybe remaking could be, lower the quality of the original one, and that could, damage the original image or like story. So I don't think it's always good, but maybe I'm gonna try the movie if it's reviewed.
Yeah, I think for me, that's actually like a lot of Japanese people, like when I've asked that question, they're like, that they're thankful that there is like an interest in Japanese culture, and I think that is a good thing. But on the other hand, it's like the people remaking the movie aren't really that interested in Japanese culture. They're interested in making money. So like my biggest peeve is when they remake like a Japanese film or Japanese product. It's often like because a lot of Japanese, like the reason I love Japanese media and films is like it's very thoughtful, and that you don't get a lot of the answers from like you have to think about it. Like not everything is sold. Like there's a lot to be learned from watching these films. Where it's like when it's remade, it's kind of like it's too simple, and it's like it's more about the spectacle than the theme or the thought. So basically, I don't like dumbing down of things. Like when you probably know like about Pokemon back in the day. When Dan and I were young, we used to watch Pokemon on TV, and back then they would change many of the Japanese things, like say onigiri, they would change the animation to sandwiches because because of Western, like, what's this? So they would take away all the stuff that made it Japanese and then just like make it American. And it's kind of like you can kind of see why they did it back then. It's to bring anime to a larger audience, but it's also like you can't just take that away from what makes it like essential to its identity, you know? It's kind of like, yeah.
I think it, especially for something as personal as like a Makoto Shinkai film, like, because it's got such like strong roots in its Japanese setting, I don't think they would be handled as well from like a Western production company. Like they'd be there, I reckon, like the locations would be there, but it just wouldn't feel quite right, I feel like.
Yeah, they probably put Minions in there or something. Yeah,
I don't reckon they'd put McDonald's in it.
There'd be no McDonald's.
I reckon they'd substitute it for like a sushi chain or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, just to maybe round out the episode, what would you say is your like last thoughts on Suzume? And like, would you recommend it? Like, did you ultimately like the movie?
Yeah. So I really liked the movie, and I also recommend people, of course for Japanese people, but also for like people around the world, because this is a good text, as you guys said. This is I think it's a good text to like know about Japan, Japanese cultures, or like how do Japanese people feel about like the earthquake as well. Yeah, so I think it was a very good one to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the movie as well, but I think there's a warning that for some people, maybe especially for victims of earthquakes in Japan, that movie would be very too traumatic. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend this movie to everyone, but I think it's good to watch it and discuss what you think about the movie in general or earthquakes in Japan with your friends or your family or someone. So yeah, I think it's good to take a try. Yeah.
I think, I really like this movie as well. It was an interesting experience because at first I thought I didn't like this movie until I watched it a couple times more. I think, as you guys said, I think it's a good kind of view into like, you know, maybe the trauma of what happened, but it's also done in a way that is like excessive, not too heavy and quite accessible, but like kind of paying respects to like the memory of what happened. So I think it's kind of good to like depict the aftermath of these natural disasters. It's bad that they happened, I think, but I think it kind of shows the spirit of people, I guess, and how there is like a resonant story and people behind it. And I think that happened after like also like the war as well. Like there's been a lot of interesting discourse and art that has come out of like these terrible, horrible situations. And I think it's a good way for people to express themselves in that manner. And I think because like Makoto Shinkai films feel very personal, even though on the larger scale of things, it's still it's a mainstream corporate movie where it's like a studio's like, change this and this. I'm pretty sure they said that, but I think Japanese media hides that pretty well. Like the sponsorships, because, you know, McDonald's obviously probably put a bit of money into the movie. So, but yeah, no, I think this is a very good film. But yeah, what about you, Dan? What's you still listening to me? You haven't.
Yeah.
You haven't
No, I still having some connection issues, but I think I got the gist of it.
Yeah.
I admittedly, this movie was not my favorite Makoto Shinkai film. I feel like I really, really love like the more grounded elements of the film, like the characters and the road trip elements. Like, and I really like the chair, but sometimes it felt like they had to push all of that aside to do like the fantasy stuff, and it'd be like I'd be enjoying this scene where they're having antics at like a snack bar. But then it's like, oh, we got to chase Daijin now to the Ferris wheel and do all this bullshit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. So yeah, it kind of felt that there was a little bit of a disconnect, whereas like, I feel like Kimi no Nawa and Weathering with You is a bit more balanced in terms of like how well he integrated the fantasy elements into his story. But that said, yeah, I mean, it's a good time. Like, you know, like the animation is typically beautiful. And yeah, I think... Like, it's got enough kind of Makoto Shinkai-isms.
Said like, oh, you better put action in it or people will look at their phones during the movie.
Yeah, it felt a bit like that. Like, I've always been a fan of like the movies that people feel are maybe a bit boring, like 5 centimeters per second and like Garden of Words and stuff. So like, I prefer those kinds of works, but I can see how like they don't have as much commercial appeal.
That much. I didn't actually like Garden of Words that much. Like,
oh, really?
Have you seen
Garden of Words?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like Makoto Shinkai's style doesn't suit too grounded a story. It's a bit too, like, whimsical.
Yeah.
It's a bit too fantasy. But, yeah, we won't branch off into another long discussion about that. Well, I want to thank... Yuta and Yuka for coming on the show. Thanks for giving us
thank
time.
You guys.
Yeah. I hope we can do another episode before you guys leave, but we'll see how time permits for that. But no, yeah, you should try to catch their shows on 3ZZZ. I'm sure we'll get the link somehow. But yeah, no, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for coming today. I think it was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Do you wanna talk us out, Dan?
Sure. But what did you guys think of Suzume? Did you enjoy it? Which one is your favorite Makoto Shinkai film? Let us know. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation. You can get in contact with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to. Thank you as always for listening. Leave a like. I forgot to put a call to action at the start of the episode, but leave a like if you can. That'd be good.
Hit that like button or whatever people do these days.
Yeah. And tune in to 3ZZZ.
Yes, please do. All right. That's a wrap. See you later, guys.
Bye-bye. Gonna get a Big Mac.
Yeah, it's all getting Big Macs. Yeah.